Hello, all you digital wizards out there. Today we're going to learn some basics of laser cutting and vector art. Today we are using a free program called Vector Ink, a browser-based app. Some things we're going to cover: how to draw and enclose a path, how to use the text tool, how to create basic shapes and change your options, how to use the copy tool, and lastly, how to export your project. Let's get started. So for this project, I'm going to create a simple keychain. It's important to note that if you want the laser cutter to read an object as a cut versus an engrave, it needs to be an enclosed shape. The exception to this rule is the line shape. However, if you are simply using a pencil or pen tool and it's not enclosed, the cutter will most likely read this as an engrave, and it will be a surface-only change to your cut. Now to get started, I'm going to click the rectangle tool and click and drag on my blank canvas. One thing I want to show you is the shape option, which can always be found at the top right of your screen and should look like the shape you have selected. Here I can change the radius of my rectangle. What this does is around the corners of my rectangle, you have these advanced options with many of your shapes. Now I have too many rectangles, so to get rid of the excess, I'm going to select what I want to get rid of with my selection tool and press the trash can at the bottom left. I am now going to size my rectangle to about a business card size. You can change these dimensions if you like. To size my rectangle, I have to select it and then go to the transform tool, which can be found on the right side. Here I can change the dimensions. You will notice that the dimensions are in px and not inches. There are measurement converters online if you need to get your own dimensions. However, for our purposes, I'm going to show you some common dimensions for some items. Type in the dimensions for the item you wish to create. Just under the selection tool is the point tool. Be careful not to touch this one, as you can grab the specific points and warp your objects. This is great if you want to create your own unique shapes, but we will get into that in another video. Now, sometimes you might want to size an object, but if you just grab and size it, it might warp the object. A good way to avoid this is by locking your width and height. When you do this, any change you make in the width or height will be reflected in the other. In essence, it keeps the correct ratio or proportions when you lock your size. Now, since I'm making a keychain, I want to make sure there is a hole for the keyring to go through. To do this, I go to my shapes and simply double-click to bring up the shapes available to me. You will notice the snap is on and will help me line up my shapes. After creating your shape, don't forget to return to the selection tool to move it. Otherwise, you will be making more shapes. One thing that I don't love about this program is its MultiSelect tool. Most programs let you simply hold Shift to grab more than one object. However, in Vector Ink, you need to use the MultiSelect tool. This tool looks like a hand on the bottom of the screen. I am grabbing both objects here so I can line them up using the alignment tool on the right. Next up, we have the text tool. This tool can be found at the bottom left of your tools and looks like a capital T. Click it and a new window should pop up where you can write your text and change your font. Once you have what you need, simply click the Save option. Now, there are two ways you can change the size of your text. You can go to your text options by clicking the T on the right side and changing the size. You can also switch to your selection tool and go to the transform tool to size it down. This is the same tool we used earlier to get our rectangle dimensions. Okay, we have two tools left to go. Next up, we have the pencil tool, which will allow you to free draw. This tool is great because it will smooth out as you go. However, if you don't like how smooth it is, go to your pencil options on the right to change that. You'll notice that while drawing my heart, it was left as an incomplete shape. So how do I close the path? Make sure to select your object first, and then we're going to change our tool to the point tool. We need to do this in order to connect points together with a line. Think of it as a giant connect the dots, only you choose where the dots go. Once the point tool is selected, a new tool will show up on the top right. This is called the path tool. Now we simply click to close the path. We can also pick colors. However, the laser cutter will only read as black and white. It can't burn a purple color into your wood. Lastly, we have the copy tool. This tool is great for creating geometric designs easily. Select your object first. In this case, I'm using a circle. Click the copy tool and it will automatically make copies around the anchor point. which looks like a little circle in the middle of your copies. If you move this anchor point, you will notice that the copies spread out more. If I go to my copy options on the right of my screen, I can change some of these options. I can change how many copies it makes. I can change the scale of my copies. I can change the angle of my copies. I can also choose how my copies are being distributed. Do I want them in a straight line, in a circle, or in a grid? I use this copy tool to create a little geometric flower. Now that I've completed my keychain, I want to export this as an SVG. To do this, I go to my options, which look like 3 lines on the top left, and click Export SVG. Now, this was a really simple design, just so you can see how creative you can get with it. I'm going to show you my Star Wars coaster that I designed. So as you can see, the sky is really the limit with vector programs. I would love to see what you create. Feel free to post your creations here. Until next time, keep it magical.